tighten it down. You don't want this to fly off, but we're only going to put about 4 pounds, 5 pounds maybe of pressure. And that's on there pretty good then. Hey guys, well, we're back on the 56 Oval, the orange 56. Last video we replaced all the components on all 4 brakes and the wheel cylinders and pads and all that. So now we need to tackle the master cylinder. That was sticking really bad, so that's going to get replaced. And then we'll go ahead and pressure bleed the system. Since we opened up the system, you always have to pressure bleed it, either by pumping the pedal. You know, you'd have a second person inside pumping the pedal, and then you'd break the brake bleeder loose and get the air bubbles out that way. But I have a pressure bleeder, and I made a special attachment just for this reservoir, this brake fluid reservoir. It fits on there, creates a seal, and you can put 3 to 5 psi or so in there and go around and bleed out each wheel cylinder basically by yourself. So I'll show you how I made that. It can basically attach to any pressure bleeder, or probably even like a weed sprayer. You just need something that can put some pressure into the system. You can put fluid in there so you don't run low on fluid in the reservoir. It'll constantly feed fluid into the reservoir. So it works great. It's fast. You can do all 4 wheels, one right after another, and you don't need a helper. So that's what we have on the agenda for today. So I need to get the lines loose. It's kind of tight quarters in here. I'll try to get the best shots I can. This is the brake light switch. So undo that. And then we just need to break these lines loose and then go inside and unbolt it. Of course, you can take the gas tank out and probably get at this a lot easier, but I like to do things the hard way, I guess. Yeah, gas tank's coming out. We'll go in from the top. You gotta pull that cotter pin there. That's the reserve lever. Okay, you got a 14 mil on a power ratchet. And this here, you don't want to pull these bolts all the way out. Make sure they're out of the master cylinder, but don't pull them out of here because there's 2 collars inside there. This firewall is actually 2 pieces, you know, roughly 1 inch away from each other, and there's a tube in there. And if you pull that completely out, that tube will fall, and then you'll be in there trying to fish that out with a magnet. That tube just makes it so you don't crush the firewall. It just supports it because it's a hollow piece there. You just crush it in if you tighten it down without those tubes. So now we got to get the other side. Not a lot of working room in here. Alright, so now we'll put the plug in. I like to actually put a flare on the inside of there so it's harder for it to pull out. Some people just put it straight, but I'll put a flare on the end of there. Then we put the line in. And that'll go on there like that. So now we'll go put it in the car. You can bench bleed these, but these are so small that I've never done it, and it's always worked out okay. We'll take these protective pieces off. We'll get this installed in the car. Now that we have this one started, it kind of holds it in place. So we try to get those the two mounting screws screwed in from inside the car. I think we're getting lucky. And it's going in. Try the other side. Side's in too. Get the last little bit by hand. So I'll get the plunger in. And the pin. And then it gets the cotter pin. Okay, I have everything back installed. Gas tank in. Reservoir, powder coated satin black. And put some new hardware on here. And I found the other cap there. So we'll go ahead and pressure bleed the system. And then we should be ready for a test drive. So here's what I have for a pressure bleeder. Motive Products power bleeder. It's just a little, looks like a weed killer pump. Basically like these here. You could probably use one of those. I haven't tried it, but it looks like basically the same thing. So what I've done is basically on Amazon or even at a hardware store, you can get these rubber pipe plugs, and they just squish down and expand, and they'll expand on the top of the reservoir and seal it off. And then I replaced the bolt with just a bolt with a hole down the middle. I believe I got that on Amazon also for a couple dollars. Or I suppose you could, if you have a straight aim, just drill a hole through a bolt. Then .3 brake fluid goes into the tank, and that'll keep it pumped up where you don't have to keep refilling it. And so this goes right down into there. You can buy these rubber plugs in different sizes. So if your car has a different size, you could buy an assortment. And then I just put a wing nut on here. You could put a regular nut and use this wrench and just tighten it down. You don't want this to fly off, but we're only going to put about 4 pounds, 5 pounds maybe of pressure. And that's on there pretty good then. And then what we'll do is we'll pump it up to a little under 5 on the gauge. I do have all the bleeders closed. So we'll start with that there. And I just take a bungee cord and hang the tank off of here so I can pump it up when it's up in the air. And we'll start with the farthest wheel cylinder in the back, which is the passenger rear. So I'll go back there. Okay, so we're at the passenger rear brake, and I just have this was just a fuel sample container for sending fuel samples in. You could use any plastic container, but this one won't get eaten up at all by any brake fluid or anything, but most plastic's okay. I have used just Coke bottles in the past. And then all we do is crack this bleeder open. I just put a coat hanger wire here to hold it. And we'll break that open and then just look for any bubbles. And there was one down here. Nothing yet. Keep an eye on the pressure. It's still pretty good. It is flowing. You can see it's raising up a little here. It's basically this is flushing the fluid out of the lines. So I still check, we have a little under 5 pounds still pressure. We're at the other wheel cylinder. Crack this one loose. That one getting quite a bit of air. Now the fluid's starting. And now we have constant fluid. We'll tighten that one back up. Now we'll go do the fronts. What I'll usually do is go through all four and then do all four again. Kind of like 2 rounds. There's a lot of air there. We're at about 3 pounds. Probably after this one we'll give it a couple pumps. And that's solid now. So we'll do the other side. You don't want to crack the bleeders too far because air could actually come in around the threads. So you just want to crack it loose enough for fluid to start flowing. And now we'll just do all four real quick one more time and see what we have for pedal pressure. So it does leak a little tiny bit. Probably won't be safe to put a towel around the base, but we'll wipe that up. That's powder coating, so that should hold up pretty good against brake fluid, but brake fluid is a pretty good paint stripper, so that's why it's always gets so rusty down in here, which I touched up. So we'll get that off and throw some fuel in and take it for a spin. See how the pedal feels. So there you can see the level stayed the same. I didn't add any to that. That was just fed from the pressure pot. So that works out pretty good, especially if you're just a one-man show. You don't have someone that can pump the pedal for you. Here we go. So it'll skid in the gravel. It stops, but typical VW brakes, I guess. This transmission has a bad rattle in first gear. Do some off-roading. Okay, well, we have it all set. It's stopping pretty good for a Volkswagen with drum brakes. So we gotta just bend over the tabs on the front wheels and it should be good to go. I did pump it a few times because I didn't bench bleed that wheel cylinder. You just leave the back bleeder open and going into the bottle and just pump it 20-30 times just to kind of fill up that master cylinder, and that seemed to work. And then went ahead and pressure bled the system to get any air bubbles out and adjusted the brakes pretty tight. They'll kind of seat in and loosen up, and then you usually got to look at them again. You know, you might have to give them one more click tighter, but should be pretty good to go. Race car driving by. But anyways, this project's done, and then next we're on to continuing with this barn find 56. We do have to build an engine for it. We took care of this whole inner wheel well, and the next step is going to be that quarter panel. That'll be the next video. So that's it for today. Please subscribe, give me a like or a thumbs up, and we'll see you next time.